It's living according to the purpose of God about your life and living to your fullest potential. In living according to the purpose of God about your life, that's where you'll find full happiness. When you live outside His will about your life, obviously, that's not what the manufacturer made you for. He made you for this will, this type of purpose, and it's for you. It's just only made for you. And in Him you find your image, your identity. You find why and who you are, and what you are here for. And when you start living according to what He made you for, that's when you find complete happiness.
Okay, all flight controllers, go for landing. Retro, go. Fido, go. Guidance, go. Control, go. Telcom, go. GNC, go. Ecom, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for landing.
Welcome back to another great episode where quality content, laughter, fun, learning, encouragement, and inspiration lives with your host, Leon Habi, the man himself. This is In Conversation with Leon. In today's episode, we're having a life coach, a motivational speaker. We're talking about a guy from the village of Mapela, a place there, Ga Matlou, located there at a place called Mokopane. He's the first one in his family to make it in a higher institution of learning. He worked as a resident assistant manager for 2 consecutive years at the University of Limpopo in the Department of Housing. He also worked as a student assistant at the Department of English at the University of Limpopo. He is making a difference in the lives of young people by visiting various high schools at the Limpopo province to disseminate information for transformation. He's also a master student at the University of Limpopo. We are talking about a guy in 2019. He was a winner of Abe Bailey Travel Bursary. Guys, this person went to Ethiopia, talking about London, not ending there, but Scotland. He's very passionate about socio-economic development of South Africa. Guys, help me welcome the one and only Seanego Morobadi Johannes, prominently known as Mr Virus-Infect2impact. Welcome, my guy.
Thanks for having me, man.
How are you, man?
I'm doing great. I still impact to impact, and I disseminate information for transformation.
That's more like it. It's interesting because today we're going to tackle the most wonderful topic that I like. It's called the pursuit of happiness. So for the listeners out there, the pursuit of happiness, we're just going to be dwelling more on focusing on building the new concept, new definition, new meaning of what happiness is all about. Because we have the society, my friend, has defined a new meaning around that. I don't know what you feel about the pursuit of happiness as like a background before I want to dwell on, because I went on to ask people what happiness means to them. But to you personally, let me start with you before I dwell on other people. What does happiness mean to you?
I think it is interesting because you're talking about the pursuit of happiness, and it's quite funny because my question is, why should people then pursue happiness? Because happiness is not something that must be pursued. Happiness, it is an intrinsic feeling which must ensure that you still maintain your individuality, your peculiarity, and your identity. This simply means happiness is being self. Once you are yourself and content about who you are and understanding why you are and understanding where you are going, then you got a full package of happiness. You don't have to pursue it. That is why I just have a problem with that, the pursuit of happiness. Where are you running to? What are you chasing?
That's very interesting. Let me step back a bit. So what I did, I get to ask people what happiness means to them. Yes. And I'm just going to be throughout the podcast, we'll be having some of their comments. And take note, this is their personal view of what they mean, what happiness means to them. So this one was from Katla, was saying that happiness for me is being able to be myself, a healthy vision of myself, despite of what happens, not letting what happens change me. That's happiness to me. It is because after making it through the harshness, terrible experience, you get to realize how strong you are, because it takes strong person to survive, not change. And secondly, I will take it to Lesedi. Lesedi says happiness to me is freedom, is a feeling of being free even when the circumstances are not favorable to me. It's internal and intentional. It's looking at a bad situation and choosing it to be happy. That's what Lesedi says. So dwelling on what she says, because I have a picture that people get to not understand that or take into consideration whether happiness has to be external or internal. So some people may say it's external, some people may say internal. So what is your take on happiness being an external factor or internal factor?
I'd like to appreciate the people who've commented there, because I agree with them entirely. Happiness, like I said, it's an intrinsic feeling, which means it comes from the inside. That is why I'm saying I'm against the fact that people are talking about the pursuit of happiness. You don't have to pursue happiness. You have to derive it from the inside. And when you derive it from the inside, check what is going to happen. None of the things you'll be doing to maintain your happiness will take your identity away. That's who you are. Regardless of what is transpiring around you, your peculiarity, which is your uniqueness, your oddness, you still maintain that while remaining happy. And actually, happiness is from the inside. Happiness is from the inside. Like you take it from the inside, then you bring it to the outside. Nothing more, nothing less.
That's more like it. I like it. So what I did is went to actually, because some people might be yeah, I understand what you guys are talking about, but happiness is not what I have right now. Happiness is not what I always have. Let me just give a quick scientific knowledge that you might want to have or intake. So happiness comes from some hormones, which we call them DOS, which is a representation of weights. So D for dopamine. Dopamine is you having the pleasure, the motivation and reward system about the brain. So we have the so-called hormone that makes you happy, which is called the oxytocin, which is more about bonding, feeling happy because of love, the cuddling, the trust built around that, secreted around that. We have the so-called serotonin, which is more of the mood stabilizer, because you might find that sometimes you're having unstable moodness, sometimes you're just happy, sometimes you're just bad. It's because you're lacking such hormones. And your happiness, your well-being, sometimes you're in pain or you need relaxation, is more of why you need the so-called endorphins hormone that get to help you to be happy. So sir, we know there are some activities that people get to do, some things, moments or times, I may say, whereby people get to be not happy at all, just in sadness. So what are some of the things that you personally do when you are not in the so-called unhappy moments? What some of the activities that helps you to stimulate some of the hormones that I've mentioned to keep you in a happy state?
Honestly speaking, every time I digress from the person I am, there will be a sense of some unhappiness in me. So I take, for instance, if you can check my social media platforms, you'll see sometimes I'm motivating people, sometimes I'm doing my life coaching, sometimes I'm doing comedy, sometimes I'm writing motivational. So those are the things which are part of me. Then every time I feel like I'm losing the sense of self, which obviously will put me in a state of unhappiness, then I delve into who I am and express my notions to the world. And that is definitely going to make me happy, because I'm embracing myself. I'm embracing my individuality, peculiarity, and identity. These three, I just want them to delve into someone's head to realize that happiness is derived from the inside and not outside. And honestly speaking, the things that we get from the outside, they do not give us happiness. I'll shock you. All these external things, they do not give us happiness. They add to what we have. An angry person makes people angry. A happy person makes people happy. So if you are unhappy, regardless of what is transpiring around you, you are not going to be happy. I'm sure by that time you'll be conforming to the standards of the people who are happy in your confinement, but by the time you get away from them, you are back to that sense of unhappiness. So happiness derives from the inside. You make peace with yourself, because before you can make peace with what is encompassing you.
That's so true, man. That's so true. More, can you say those three things again that you mentioned? Well, I think you're also focusing on internally mostly on what you're
Sure.
Like you're literally going deeply in making people realize that happiness is an eternal thing.
Yes, and I would like to reiterate that people must stop translating their souls in pursuit of happiness. Those three things that he's asking me to speak again are your individuality. Before you can become part of a certain crew, you are an individual. And if you do not relate with yourself as an individual, how then are you going to relate with your external? Your peculiarity. You as an individual, Leon, you are odd. There are certain things, like that is why you've got, they call them a DNA. If you kill, like it's only you possessing those DNAs, like your peculiarity, your oddness, like your uniqueness. You are yourself. If you don't want to make peace with that, you will keep on going around trying to be Mr. Virus, and guess what? You won't infect to impact because you are not me.
So true.
Yes. So people must derive their happiness from the inside, and the happiness that comes from the inside will then be taken down or up or wherever by anybody. That is why if I walk outside and I do something that is about me and you try to discourage me, I'm telling you, you won't win, because I have made peace with my individualness before I could even seek for some credits from the outside.
Wow.
So this is an internal thing. I don't want to lie to you people who are listening to this podcast. Happiness, go and buy Strombo and get intoxicated, and in the process dance like nobody's business. But once the intoxication go away, you are still the same person, your problems are still the same. But if you make peace with the person you are, regardless of whatever you do, nothing will take your happiness away.
Yeah, that's very interesting, man.
Even if I can receive a call now, let's say I'm from an interview and they said you didn't receive the post, or your interview wasn't successful, that isn't going to make me unhappy. Do you know why? Because I'm living in a world of trial and error. So I've attempted to do something. If I have failed, my mood doesn't change. What should I learn from what I did so that I become the better person? That is why some of us are always happy in your social media platforms, and you are wondering why. Because we understand that happiness emanates from inside than outside.
That is Mr. Virus, guys. He's here to impact. That's what he's capable of. Take him back to some of the comments that I have obtained from some of the listeners. Here's one from King saying happiness is positivity. Once you learn how to focus on the positive side of things, you will find happiness in almost anything. So the other one from Maropeng say, I will say when someone is happy is when one has found their passion and purpose, because it is something that you do without much effort. To me, happiness is not tied to anything other than finding who you are. That's what you were saying.
Exactly, definitely.
And it continues on saying that, and my purpose on earth is finding who you are and my purpose on earth, because the moment I found those things that are related to me being happy is when I become the happiest person on earth. Those are some of their comments.
Yes.
Just taking forth on what you were saying. Let me take one step forward in terms of what we're talking about. I believe that we have stage and in terms of growth, you being 18, you being 16, and there's some of the things that used to make you happy when you were a child. And now that you're grown. So this is more about growth versus happiness, because there are some of the things that we used to do back then that we feel like, those things are so childish. Yeah, though they used to make me happy, but I feel like doing them won't make me happy, or it will make me feel less of a person, because like I feel like most people get to spending more times with friends. Just it's more of like what they find peace in, just doing things that they love. But now, because they feel like they're grown, they're 21, it's like, those things, I'm not doing them anymore. So do you think that when you grow up and stop doing the things that you used to do that made you happy, a way of limiting happiness in your life?
First of all, I'll go back to the issue of association in terms of your developmental stages as a human being. You see, I always say association determine your destination. So the people you associate with will determine if you take the things you've been doing seriously and you regard them as some of the things which can add to your happiness, or some of the things which can add to your your meanness, your sadness, and so forth. So in terms of that, people must take association into consideration.
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, your associates will determine if you are happy or sad by their perception of the things that you perpetually do. For instance, when I grew up, I used to like singing a lot, and many people don't know that I know how to sing. I put that on hold because as I was growing, my associates were singing too. So it was something that added to our happiness, since I said happiness is not brought by the things that are coming externally, but it is from within. So singing was adding to my happiness. But as I grew, I associated with certain individuals who perceived singing for homosexuals, singing for like sapiosexuals and so forth. So that really discouraged me, because honestly, if I become a lead singer at church, they will give me a certain tag to say, oh, Mr. Virus is gay, he's homosexual, and so forth. So I decided to do what? Get rid of singing, because it is now messing up my happiness. You see? So our association determine where we go in our developmental stages, honestly speaking. And that one, many people must, people conform to certain standards because of our associates, which determine if you hold on to what made you happy or what must make you happy. And that is determined by your associates. They're saying, but man, you can't be singing here. You are 21. They will say you are gay. They forget that singing is a gift. And at some point, it adds to your happiness. And because you want to be happy according to their standards, you conform and say, but I'm no longer singing, you know. Then you stop singing and you get my point. That's how it is. Association messes up a lot of things. People must be careful who they associate with, so that their destination may be pure and the way they predestined it to be.
My dearest friend always speak about the power of association. This is like a broader concept that I feel like most people should take into consideration. So for everyone who's listening to this, we are actually talking about being happy. I don't know where you are. I don't know what you're doing listening to this. But before I continue and do what I want to do right now, is ask you this question. Are you happy? Are you happy where you are? Are you really, really happy? On your own time, just answer that question for yourself. So taking on some of the comments that friends of mine gave me. This one's from Komojo. Remember, the question is, what does happiness mean to you? Like I said, it will be circulating throughout the podcast, because it'll be like some of the comments that they made. So Komojo is saying that for me, happiness goes together with contentment, mainly being happy with where you are in life, even after the hiccups that could have hindered one's progress, and being more of who you are, about where you are and where you're heading. Happiness is all about being at a place of peace, both physically and mentally. Happiness has a lot to do with good health. Happiness is also when one gets to be still in a joyous moment, not based on what his or her surrounding is all about, on what they're doing. It's more about who you are, and is an individual type of concept. Happiness is an individual's duty and nobody else. That's what Komojo says. Mr. Virus, so dwelling more on the pursuit of happiness,
yes,
which is a very interesting question. So now we're taking it to more on, you already touched it with the power of associations, because I feel like power of association is a broad concept. So in terms of the relationships, the friendships, we often tend to dilute our personality, and sometimes we even dilute our happiness, because we tend to be, as the society call it, too cool to the people that we're spending time with, so that we can be happy. So do you think that sometimes when because I feel like the word personality is more of understanding who you are as well.
Yes.
And versus more of happiness as well. Plus the people that you surround yourself. I know you've touched on that. Please, in terms of the power of association, go deeply with it in terms of understanding the concept of happiness affected by your personality. That people that you're spending time with, plus your personality, trying to find or seek happiness, what does it do to that human being? Because we tend to limit or try to redefine happiness in trying to be cool to friends.
First of all, you don't seek for friendship. I just want to reiterate on that. First of all, you don't seek for friendship. Since we said happiness emanates from the inside, you become self and embrace your personality. Whosoever doesn't like your personality, they must digress from you, because they are not meant to be part of your life. And whosoever likes your personality will converge towards you, because they are part of your life. And that simply means now there is no process of translating your soul. If you don't like who Mr. Virus is, it means you are, my dear, not meant for me. So go elsewhere. But I'm not going to translate who I am and my personality just to accommodate you. Yeah. That is why I want us to get rid of. To use a better English, I just want to eradicate or to dismantle being cool in our society. And being cool makes many youngsters to end up translating their souls, because they want to conform to the standards which are set by certain individuals with certain personalities. So if you want to maintain your happiness, you really need, once you understand who you are as an individual, there is no process of translating. If Leon cannot relate with disseminating information for transformation, then he must go to Meg or go to Pick and Pay. Maybe you'll find something that relates to him, because I'm not about to translate my soul for someone. And why am I saying this? Guys, life comes once. You're going to die one day. Let me remind you, you are going to die. You are on the queue to your grave. But before you leave the planet Earth, I just want to tell you that you need to live on the planet Earth. Get that right. Before you leave the planet Earth and go to your grave, you must live on the planet Earth. And there is no in which you can do that if you do not embrace your personality and allowing yourself to be. And I'm telling you, there are people who are going to like you and there are people who are going to hate you. It's fine. Go with the people who likes you. And those who are hating you, those are haters. Shem, we know them and we love them. But we are not changing anything about ourselves and our happiness just to accommodate them. I don't know if I answered you.
Perfectly, sir. Like, it's straight to the point whereby I wanted the listener to get a perspective of how you actually just laid whatever that you just said now. Like, it's so wonderful. Like, before we go to the end, because I have like 2 more questions to be stated to you. So last comment from Kimberly in us answering what does happiness means to her. So Kimberly's on saying that is a state of mind through a way of like how you want to be happy, because it's always Sometimes we say we want to be happy. It's more of we always define it more as like something that you can tap in and out. Because that's what happens. Sometimes you're happy and sometimes you're not. And she further on saying that happiness is a choice that one makes and is encouraged to make as often as possible, not ignoring every other feelings, but understanding that you are in control of your happiness. Because you could be in a happiest environment, but in your mind, happiness is not there. Then therefore, it's useless seeking happiness, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's more of that. So I think she's touching something as like happiness is actually a choice.
Yes. Okay, let me say something.
Yeah.
Happiness must not be invented. It must be discovered. You don't invent happiness by trying to think hard on how you must be happy. You must discover it because we all have happiness within us. But it's a matter of how do you discover it. And someone on your comment spoke about contentment. As long as you are not content with what you have, who you are, and where you are, thinking like I'm denied, I'm delayed, blah, blah, you aren't going to be happy. So discover happiness. Stop inventing it. Because you'll end up doing things you aren't supposed to be doing.
So for that one person who's out there who's like, yeah, Leon and Mr. Virus, I'd really hear what you're saying, talking about happiness, but where I come from and based on like my family background and what happened in my life and the point where I am currently, what you guys are talking about, I feel like is just talking out things that does not exist. Meaning this person is just there's like, happiness does not really exist in my life. How can you help that particular person to build happiness or help that person to be like, yeah, understand where you come from, understand what you did or things that happen in your life. But what can be the step in creating or developing the inner happiness within that person?
You know, that question is making me emotional right now because I just want to remind that individual to say, where you are coming from will determine where you are, and where you are will determine where you are going. You know, where I am right now, it's not where I was back then. So this story, I've been saying it again and again and again, but I just want to tell you, my dear, that I enjoyed the most in my life to be where I am. Like, you emanate from an impoverished family where everybody's just, making a joke out of it. You don't have friends. You lose friends because you are coming from an RDP. They call it Relebwa Dintlo Papa. Your mom comes at school and she's busy picking up the teeny and so forth so that she can make money. Your friends are laughing at you and you're asking yourself, where will you get happiness in that particular state? But I've told you that once you realize what you want in life and discover who you are, you move past that. Like, we've got weaknesses and strengths. I want you to focus on your strengths so that they may overpower your weaknesses, because that's what made me to be where I am. I've already been, like, from the most humbling rural areas. I've already been abroad. I've already been in the British Parliament, Scottish Parliament. I've been at, I can name them. We don't have time, but I just want to tell you that where you are, it's not a mistake. But you shouldn't use that as a barometer to determine your happiness. Let me give a clear example before I wrap this up. It is not your choice. Like, it is inevitable to feel pain. Pain is there for everyone, but suffering is a choice.
Yeah.
Your pain, everyone is feeling pain on earth, my sister and my brother, and that, honestly speaking, distorts our happiness. But pain is not a choice. It is inevitable. Everyone is going through it. But suffering, it's a choice. So you must fix your perception about what is transpiring in your life, because if your pain is not going to bring you gain, it means you are doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So you can still be happy in the midst of your pain, because your pain is there to grow you. Your pain is there to discover you. Your pain is there to unveil you. But your suffering is there to destroy you. So if you are smart, embrace your pain, but replace your suffering with happiness by being content with where you are, because you are not delayed and denied. You are just where you are supposed to be. And that pain is going to make you to gain.
You just delayed, but not denied.
Yes.
We're just explaining and tackling and most interesting, and we just broke it into pieces, and I feel like it's clear and it's been concise to each and everyone, and you are there about to make a step in your life to a greater happiness that is supposed to be internally and that is internally. Last question, Mr. Virus. I feel like this is a question that I always ask each and every guest of mine, which I love so much because it's very interesting and it will help people. What does personal growth mean to Mr. Virus?
This is a simple but very complex question. What does personal growth means to Mr. Virus? For me, it means simply just to be alive. Because honestly speaking, you can't be born and die where you are.
Yeah.
You need to go through certain stages of life. So in my life coaching, I deal with personal development and professional development because I believe one must always move from where they are to where they want to be, where they wanted to be to where they want to be, and so forth. So it's a progressive progress of being the best version of yourself. Actually, it means being the best version of yourself every day. That is personal growth for me. I don't know if I answered it like your guests.
No, you have answered like Mr. Virus.
Definitely.
Where can people follow you? I know that there's a podcast that I'm going to leave in the comment section where you can just press the link and follow Mr. Virus podcast, where you get to listen to each and every podcast that are changing lives. Personally, for me, trust me, I will leave the link, follow it, and your life will never be the same. You will have a lot of learning from those things. Where else can people follow you, sir?
On my social media platforms, on Instagram, follow guys so that my numbers can grow. I'm kidding, but on Instagram, I'm Infect2impact or at Seanego Johannes 1. At Seanego Johannes 1 or Infect2impact, you'll find me there. And on Facebook, I'm Johannes Maduga Seanego, and my other page is Mr Virus-Infect2impact. Mr Virus-Infect2impact, and on Twitter it's Infect2impact. Yeah,
that's more like it.
That's more like it.
I will also leave the social media handles in the comment section. So, Mr. Virus, I'm so glad that you came and managed to tackle this pursuit to happiness with me.
Yes, and I'm so glad that we are no longer going to pursue happiness. We are going to discover it.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
You have heard it from the Minister of Impact to Impact, Johannes Maduga Seanego, aka Mr. Virus. From me, Leon, and the whole of In Conversation with Leon production team, we say adios.